So, you've just picked up Isophyne for free, but is she any good? This video is separated into 3 sections looking at the champion from an Unawakened rank 2 point of view with no synergy, a different type of stat focus. Then we go on to an Awakened version at rank 3 with suicides and a little bit of Mystic Dispersion up to 3 with about 41 signatures, stones added into it, a Ghost Rider, Relic, and a special damage stat focus. And then finally we go up to 200 signatures, and then we add in certain things like synergies and other stuff like that. So as I said, this video is separated into 3 sections, and details of each of those sections can be found in the description down below with my notes. Initially, I found this champion very much suited towards taking on Cosmics. There is a little bit of an SP3 rotation element if you are looking to mitigate any kind of damage that you take from recoil, from running Double Edge and Liquid Courage Masteries. That is a very nice amount of degen passive, which is handy if you've got an rank 3 7-star version of this champion. There's also other things as well. So the main rotation of the champion is throwing the SP1 to start off with, several SP1s, get your energy vulnerability passive up, and build your ego charges at the same time, or ego passives. That will allow you to do a very powerful SP2, coupled with the fact that with the SP2 it does come with a passive, which again is helpful as well to all round nullify, build ego passives or ego effects, and then do lots more damage, and that's great. But that is very handy against the Cosmic line as opposed to using her in other places. So if we start off with footage section number 1, which is the Unawakened, then we've got no discernible masteries, then no Mystic Dispersion, no Relic, of course Unawakened, rank 2, no synergy, crit rating stat focus. You can see right off the bat, and one thing you'll see is the clips get shorter when it comes to taking on those Cosmic champions. When she's got her Awakened ability, which does allow her to absolutely obliterate Cosmics, but also be able to build rapidly on the egos. You can see we've built up to 10 egos right there. It does mean that the champion is more effective. So right at this early stage, this Unawakened kind of raw stage, she is effective, and I would still recommend it as a rank 3 Unawakened to take on the likes of, well, Serpent and hulkling and Venompool and a lot of other champions. But she definitely comes into her own a bit further on. You can see that was a good amount of damage. That's not, huge amount of damage. And yes, one thing that you should be doing, which is always very tricky, is to build that energy vulnerability. That should have been my first play in order to maximize damage. You're going to see that's working out better for me further on. You do need some good synergies to help out with the champion, but if you get your rotations in right, you will find an effective amount of damage. For kind of curiosity, if you are curious, this is a 500k health pool hulkling, okay? So it's still fine, it's still effective, it's still doing what it needs to be done, and of course with the Fury passives I was able to do a good amount of damage. It's when you add more to the champion that she's starting to excel a bit more. So with Cosmics being one way that you'd look to use Isophyne, what about the Unawakened version in something like, I don't know, a fight against Captain Marvel Classic? We'll come back to a Captain Marvel Classic fight a bit further on. One thing that I did kind of think about, okay, well, the AI, by the way, is just so bad, especially on the beta server, but we know that. That's one thing that, as much as Kabam have done great towards the end of this year, and I know that they are a dedicated team to get stuff, and I know they are working hard all the time on things, there's just the problems they've inherited from, say, previous people that worked at the company. Maybe they trimmed a lot of the fat when it came to like people that weren't working at a certain pace, because AI quality is just another thing that needs to be dealt with the game. But back to the subject of Captain Marvel Classic and this fight right here. I opted for an SP3 rotation. You can see the degen is very weak. This, of course, is the lower rank version. And, of course, that is going to be not as potent. There's no Relic associated. There's no Ghost Rider Relic, which has a degen-based improvement for if you are doing a bit of damage via that. But, of course, we're trying to ramp up as quickly as possible. And this is what... yeah, I kind of feel that without having her Awakened and without having her a bit further up, she just lacks an extra bit of potency when it comes to certain fights. If we're talking battlegrounds based easy access to nullify, this is an amazing champ, right? That is something I can't deny. Easy access to nullify, probably one of the most ease of access to nullify. So yeah, I do rate her a lot, but this form ain't too great. I flipped the script a little bit when it comes to what would be the next play for what I want to showcase. So the main thing that I wanted to showcase was, because she has bleed immunity, therefore she'd be quite good with the likes of double edge. And therefore also adding in, I couldn't add any more, sorry, but Mystic Dispersion to rank 3, because again I wanted to ramp that up. In a perfect world for this video, I would have liked to have done it up to 5 to just see what the crack is, but unfortunately I don't have, and Kabam don't allow us easy access to the cores in order to make that happen. So I was a bit disappointed with that. But I wanted to at least do that, and this is with the signature 41 version. Even though at the start of this video, of course, I had a higher version, it's like I'm going through the process to show you what is good the further you go and take the champion up with it. So the next stage is the rank 3 version with those suicide masteries, double-edged liquid courage, but also adding in the Ghost Rider relic as well. And there's a lot more we can see from the improvement before we take her to 200 signature. So here is where the fun happens. This is against a 1 million health pool, Venom pool. This is where damage ramp up and ease of access to things seems fun. We've got a power gain passive right off the rip starting from the champion, which is nice. That helps us on our way, and that's part of the signature ability. There's also the improvement of, as an attacker, that you get the regen, which you can see the regen passive right there. Now, slight mistake from myself that I don't really correct until later on in this video or the footage is that I should have allowed more ego passives on. That meant that I could regen more. That mitigates the damage I'm taking in from recoil, which is one issue to running the champion with those double-edged liquid courage recoil masteries, which of course is affectionately referred to as suicide masteries. You can see there's a decent enough ramp there. There's some good damage that you can do even with the champion in those that particular rotation of, okay, well, you're going to recoil, you're going to take a bit of damage, but at the same time I can throw some big damage because my specials will do more damage, which is nice. And then again, you might want to rotate around an SP3, but we're going to be showcasing that later on in this particular sector of the video. I'm just really excited for the champion going into this particular element, and I think I'm going to use a champion on battlegrounds, like an attack, mainly if I face up against Serpent. If you're looking for options for cosmic defenders that are really annoying, Isophyne just seems to be the one for it, and a rank 2 version might be very effective and helpful, or an Awakened version even more so. Going up against high hit point, I'm not going to show the full fight. I just want to kind of get down to some highlights to talk about the, brass tacks of it all. And the brass tacks of it all is that this particular fight against Labyrinth of Legends Star-Lord created a problem on rotation because the champion doesn't have any buffs to his name. Or he does, but not to the degree that you might like, hope, and want. It's an SP3 rotation for me on this stuff. You can see the degen, which originally we saw at about 900 per tick, is now up to 1,300. Is that 1,300? Yeah, it must be about that. And yes, like that's the main part of damage when there's no buffs on the enemy. That is where you have to make a decision. Is this champion going to be for you? Is it going to be SP3 rotations? Do I have to have double-edged liquid courage masteries running at this time? Is it going to be good for all of them? All of these particular champions? You know, all of the idle champions that we're going to have in? And I decided, as I said, we're cutting down the fight here to kind of give a bit of an indication. I did get hit during it, but it's just that point of, okay, well, it's 400 odd hits to do, and the rotation is painful because you're effectively doing this constant SP3 rotation, which is annoying. And in high, and also you can, with Labyrinth of Legends, do a top end of damage. We can also, we're not allowed to play Necropolis on the beta, which is a bit frustrating, but that's, you know, it is what it is with that, you know, Kabam's reasonings, of course, for that. But there are some things that I can test out. Anyway, SP3 rotation is key. Got that Ghost Rider relic in, and of course that helps out, but it is that 400 hits that's kind of a bit meh, really. I was very much disappointed with that. And even on like a Winter Soldier fight, this is where at least you can get a bit of a test of the extent of damage you can do. We're going to come back to these hit numbers as well, how it ends, because it does go down. But you have to rank 3, 200 signature to start seeing the benefits, the recovering of the health pools, the extent of damage potential, the start of the power gain, which you can get off the signature ability, the destroying of cosmics, which again you can't really have the benefit of until you've got the awakened ability for starters. But at least on screen you can see the degen damage is the important thing of ramp. Now imagine that being doubled going into the next set of footage, which we'll talk about in a section of how we're maximizing that, or what factors are helping out to kind of ramp up the damage more. But in any case, difficult to do when you have to, or you should be rotating around an SP1 for building energy vulnerability, and that's an issue, isn't it? You kind of feel like you have to build that energy vulnerability, and if you're running double-edged liquid courage, you're going to have to SP3 rotate. So as we go into our last rotation of footage, the section 3, I am finding that the champion does need to be put into special damage being put up. I did have it in crit rating, but that was just to experiment, or maybe crit damage could have been the play to go with it. The synergies are going to be a helpful thing. I don't know what the Founder's Military Might is going to be about. Will it help to build ego passives easier? The synergies that I used those are truly confident, which is allowing the max ego to increase, which again increases damage potential and regen coming back. And starting with 4 ego allows you to get there to the damage ramp quicker. Very handy if you're doing any kind of questing. Then you've also got Get Out of My Dimension, which is activating an SP1 at 3 bars of power, inflicts 3 energy vulnerabilities, which is handy again for your damage ramp and rotation. Not so much if you're running suicides and recoiling and stuff, but if you're at max ego, then at least you'll regen a little bit. And then you've got Found Technology. Whenever a personal immunity triggers, gain a plus 8% Fury passive. You start off with Double Edge. Double Edge triggers an immunity because you are bleed immune, which is nice. So that means that you're going to start the fight with some very nice Fury passive damage. So let's see, with all that in mind and the 200 signature, which is allowing us to get a better healing off for the ego passives, how does she function? Let's roll the footage and then talk about how this is working. Our final bit of footage sees us against a Serpent. This is I think it's 500k. No, it's a 374k Serpent, which you can see, this is just an absolute destroy. When I ramp a little bit, we're at 10 ego already, get to an SP2, or get close to an SP2, throw an SP1, energy vulnerability, of course right to the wire, we pop a Relic, we're going to pop an SP2, and then you're just going to see, well, bye-bye Serpent, 95k there. That's nice, okay. Labyrinth of Legends fight, where it was 400 hits before, with that little bump up of those synergies, it's taken down dramatically. The damage, of course, is capped because we can't get past that 50k, and it wanted to get past that 50k, I tell you that. Unfortunately, right there, don't know what happened with chaining. I chained completely wrong, but I experimented about with degen damage, which you can see has been bumped up now to that over 3k, and we're not even down to like assassin level with stuff. I haven't even got assassin on, but that was incredible. You can see there, 283 hits. That is dramatically down on that 400 hits, and I shaved off 3 minutes in that fight. Yes, I did get hit 17 times, but that's not the point. We now leave you on this. I think before, when we had a large amount of hits on Captain Marvel, that we are now shaving this down to shy of, this is going to be like 40 hits, 45 hits I think it is in total. I just found these synergies really helped out to get up to the ego passives. I also found that for the regen and also starting the fight, we saw the Fury passive. The power gain's brilliant. And also that ego to regen, which you can see there, is ticking a rather nice amount, is mitigating the loss from recoil. Although I would opt for going maybe SP3 rotation with Suicide Masteries, but that's a personal call. So for my personal thoughts of Isophyne, I did think she's a fantastic champion, but I think she's just that difficult at point of like where you maximize damage potential with her. Obviously, Fury energy vulnerability build is going to be so important to the outcome of those fights with damage, but rotation, hard if you're running anything like double-edged liquid courage masteries. Otherwise, I go SP3 rotate and have the synergies. other than that, she is, I think, going to be just one of the best easy access nullify champions. It will just be like how she supports your team, because I don't see her being the biggest damage dealer, but I see her being one of the greatest supports you could have for smashing down cosmic champions. I think even better, she's free, but from a top end to front end damage, yeah, building ego is going to be important, and I want to see what this synergy does. Otherwise, it's going to be like, okay, have Gladiator in your team in order to get to her being high on damage on the front end quickly. From defensive aspects, not sure, but that fractured power bar is probably going to cause a little bit of nuisance to go, what is she actually going to throw at me? Because you'd be expecting, she's at 2 bars. You're going to throw like a SP2 at me? No, it's an SP1. So it's just kind of trying to find out what's going to happen with that one. But also suppressing her power is probably going to be a main play for her. Either way, as I said, great nullifier. Some good front-end damage, as questionable tactics around SP3 rotation or SP1 rotate in order to build. But once you get to rank 3, 200 signature, wow, that's going to be a very fun champion to have. Great support champion. But that's really it. What are your thoughts? Put it in the comments, and have you played around with thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you later on. Cheers, have a great day, and goodbye.